starts on the pole there. The Hungarian Grand Prix, the defending champion is Jacques Villeneuve, but you see Damon Hill is a two-time winner. Michael Schumacher sandwiched in between. He was the winner in 1994. They're just about ready to head out on the formation lap in Hungary. As Jerry Donaldson joins us again, let's tell everyone about the big story is the shunt by Michael Schumacher, the pole sitter, forcing him into his backup car.
Yes, that's it. He's got the older, heavier Ferrari. It's about 10 kilos heavier, which is about 3/10 of a lap slower. But over the race distance, I suppose it wouldn't make that much difference, particularly in qualifying. But it was interesting, you know, the drivers went around on their parade a few minutes ago, all the way around the circuit, waving to the fans, and there's a huge influx here of German-speaking fans from Austria and Germany, and naturally their affections are with Michael Schumacher. But Jacques Villeneuve was very pleased to see a few Canadian flags waving amongst the crowd, and he really enthusiastically returned the applause the fans were giving him. So there are a few Canadian flags flying here, and Jacques was pleased about that.
Now, one of the other things about this backup car, the car that he wrecked, that he broke, was lighter. It also allowed him to use a bigger fuel tank. Now Schumacher goes back to the old car. Does that affect him now in pit strategy? Do they, in fact, maybe have to do 2 stops instead of possibly 1?
They may have to change strategy in midstream, Vic. They only had a couple of hours after the warm-up session to do that. But you're quite right about one thing. Pit stop strategy will be a feature here because some of the cars are using perhaps 2 to 3 pit stops. They're using softer compound tires. It's a hot day. There'll be a lot of tire wear, and we can expect a lot of action in the pits, and I think traffic jams on the track.
That's and that's the thing with Hungary. The pit stops, that's where the races are won or lost. I mean, we look at the highlights from last year and we think how close that Damon Hill got after a pit stop. Will they, in fact, go back? Will this be the last Hungarian Grand Prix?
Well, the problem has been finances. The organizers say they keep losing money, but it's an important race on the calendar. As you mentioned earlier, it's the main appearance of Formula One racing in Middle Europe, particularly Eastern Europe. It's important for the series. I've got a feeling they'll be back. Budapest is a lovely city, and the circuit, in spite of its shortcomings, usually produces an entertaining race.
As we ride along with Jacques Villeneuve, and you see in front Michael Schumacher, what will Villeneuve do you guess? Will he go for it all? Does he want to be in the lead after they come through that first turn?
Well, he's certainly going to try to outdrag Michael into the first corner, but I know Jacques has 2 things on his mind. He needs a win, but more than that, he needs to finish to score points. So he's got a bit of the dilemma, but I think the racer instinct will take over at that first corner, and let's hope they get around it safely.
Jerry, thank you very much. Michael Schumacher starts on the pole, but now in his backup, much heavier car, it's Jacques Villeneuve right beside as we go to Hungary. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix on TSN. Enjoy the race. Murray Walker and Martin Brundle.
The track, believe it or not, big industrial hoover and sweeping it quite a lot. There's a rip-off coming off from the visor of Michael Schumacher's crash helmet, so he's got a clear visor for the start of the race. Can't imagine it was too dirty anyway, but yes, they have been cleaning the inside, and that's why one of the drivers said it's not as dirty. Irvine said it's not as dirty as I normally expect it to be, but nonetheless there's less grip over there. But you can still get away from that side of the grid, especially if somebody bogs down and lets the revs drop too low, even on the clean side.
Damon Hill, third on the grid, 3 lights on, 4 lights on, 5 lights on. Pause. Go in Hungary. Schumacher leads, and Damon Hill passes Villeneuve, and Eddie Irvine is up into 3rd position. Damon Hill moves across and blocks him. Hakkinen is up, and Villeneuve has dropped back several places, exactly the same as happened to Villeneuve as happened to Hill last year. Damon is in 2nd place, and Eddie Irvine is trying to get round him as they go round 2. Out of the race already, Jan Magnussen, although he's driving across the gravel track, and that's one that'll be Morbidelli in the Sauber. And look at the lead that Michael Schumacher has already got. Now, this is absolutely sensational for Damon Hill. He got ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, and now on this track, which is so very, very difficult to pass on. He has only got Michael Schumacher in front of him. It's a long, long race, 77 laps, 1 3/4 hours, but he is in an absolutely superlative position. Schumacher, Hill, Irvine, Hakkinen, Villeneuve. Frentzen is behind Villeneuve in the second Williams, so he's come up several places because Frentzen started in 6th position. He's come up 1 place to be exact, and behind him is David Coulthard, behind him is Johnny Herbert, behind him is Jean Alesi, behind him is Gerhard Berger, and you're looking now at the completion of lap 1, Schumacher across the line, and the gap between Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill is 1.7 seconds, and Hakkinen is challenging as he goes up behind Eddie Irvine. Race order, lap 2, there is the leader, Michael Schumacher. Damon Hill ahead of Irvine, Hakkinen, Villeneuve and Frentzen, that's the top 6. David Coulthard is in 7th position. Johnny Herbert has come up to 8th from 10th. And Michael Schumacher now with a clear track in front of him, and with the next man nearly 2 seconds behind him, is really going to be putting the pedal down. And we're going to start asking ourselves shortly, what are the strategies going to be? Historically, for the last 3 years, the man who won the race has had 3 stops for tyres and fuel. We'd expect that about lap 19, the first stop, but some of them are going to stop twice. And in comes Jan Magnussen in the Stewart Ford. New nose on it. Normally that takes about 20 seconds. Jan Magnussen has had terrible luck in the Stewart team this year.
Yes, you've got a big tyre mark in the side of his car. This is turn 2 we were talking about earlier, where you get a concertina effect. Deniz was in the middle of that too, and that's obviously, they all tripped over each other because the cars break much earlier than you expect there every year.
Well, now everybody, certainly in Britain and around the world, I think, will be wondering about Damon Hill. And the big question is the Arrows, which has been unreliable in the past, going to last the race? And Damon Hill is currently the quickest man on the track, faster than Schumacher, 0.3 of a second faster than Schumacher. He's cut the gap from 1.7 seconds to 1.4 seconds.
Well, remember, Schumacher's never driven this car around here. It's the T-car they're using that has done very little work in this weekend. I'm not surprised he'll take a time to settle down, but it does look good for Hill, and Hill could be stopping 1 time less than Michael Schumacher.
Martin, you're closely connected with Arrows. How reliable is the car, do you think?
Well, the last 2 races, of course, has been much better. Remember, Silverstone, Damon finished 6th. Hockenheim, where the engine is most exposed reliability-wise, and the chassis also, it finished again. So reliability is not the issue it was earlier in the season, but this is a tough racetrack, 77 laps, a long way to go.
Indeed. So there is Damon, and he's got a comfortable gap now between himself and Eddie Irvine, 1.5 seconds. Indeed, what Irvine in 3rd place needs to worry about is Mika Hakkinen, because the McLaren is just 0.6 of a second behind him. Schumacher goes through, he's on his 4th lap now, 3 completed, 77 lap race, turns into turn 1, and watch the way it goes round. Now there's Villeneuve, and I remind you that what Villeneuve is most concerned about is his position in the World Championship. He's 10 points behind Michael Schumacher. The last thing on earth that he wants is for Michael Schumacher again to finish in front of him. It wouldn't matter whether Villeneuve was 6th and Schumacher was 5th. It would increase the points gap between them, and as the season wears on, this is race 11 out of 17, Villeneuve has got to close that gap if he's thinking of seriously of the World Championship. The Ferrari is going better and better. If Schumacher is going as quick as he is, and he's now the fastest man on the track, with the first lap in the race in under 1 minute 20 seconds, 1:19.75 to be exact, and Villeneuve is now some 5.5 seconds behind the Ferrari, and Damon Hill looking good.
Yes, well, Schumi was the quickest, as you rightly say, but Damon Hill was just 0.02 of a second slower, so there's not a lot in it. It's looking good.
So, V10 Ferrari, V10 Yamaha powered Arrows, and you can see visually that Hill is inching up on the Ferrari and inching away from Eddie Irvine with the yellow flashes. Hakkinen, Villeneuve, Frentzen, David Coulthard, then there's a gap. Johnny Herbert is in 8th position, there he is ahead of both the Benettons of Alesi, 9th and Berger 10th.
fastest lap there for Damon Hill, 1:19.6, a new fastest lap.
Well, if Damon doesn't turn another wheel in this race, he has done magnificently to start from third on the grid and to get that second position by passing Jacques Villeneuve at the start. What could have gone wrong with the Williams or with the way Villeneuve took it off the grid?
Well, it looked to me as if he did bog down. When you're trying to resist too much wheel spin, which is the problem on the right-hand side of the track here, often you overcompensate, and that's far worse. The engine bogs down, you have to dip the clutch, recommence your start procedure, and these things take off like scolded cats. A guy starting 10th on the grid's doing over 100 miles an hour before he passes the pole position start man where he started the race from. So you can imagine they just stream past you, and you have to dip the clutch and really get the revs back up, and then you tend to spin the wheels too much after that.
I have been longing to talk about this. I never expected to be able to do so, but we've got 3 world champions in this race, and you're looking at them now. Yes, I know what I'm saying. Michael Schumacher has been champion twice, Damon Hill has been champion once, and Damon Hill has halved the gap. He's blessed more than halved the gap, and now Schumacher is coming up on a tail ender. I think it's Morbidelli in the Sauber, but Damon Hill is closing on the Ferrari. I say again, Michael Schumacher is in a car that is entirely new to him as far as race running is concerned. He's had a few laps in it in the warm-up this morning. Damon Hill, of course, has been working very patiently on the setup of his car, and there's another difference between these two. Michael Schumacher is using Goodyear tyres. Damon Hill is using Bridgestone tyres. The battle between the two tyre manufacturers is just as great as it is between the car constructors, and the Bridgestones are said to be particularly good in the heat.
Well, they do seem more durable. Earlier on in the year, they performed very well in the race. They tended to be slightly off the pace in qualifying on those occasions because they're harder, less immediate grip, but more overall durability. I sat with Damon not 40 minutes ago, and he is so cool. We were chatting away about the pictures of Lady Di in the newspapers today. He's completely relaxed.
He certainly sounds as though he is, but he certainly doesn't look it now. Just look. Damon now right under the rear wing of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. Damon, who has won 21 Grand Prix in his life. Michael Schumacher, who has won 25.
And that's Villeneuve trying to go around the outside of... he didn't make it. Sorry, it's Villeneuve and Irvine. He's got through. Passed him at turn 3. Irvine had to get off the gas, and there you have it.
Yeah, and so what about Mika Häkkinen? Well, we'll keep an eye on, but the producer is quite rightly watching this battle for the lead. We haven't seen one like it for a long time. Shades of 1994. Remember, Schumacher won the World Championship. Damon Hill was second. It went right down to the wire in Adelaide with that memorable coming together, and they've had others. Well, now they are at it again. Schumacher leads. Damon Hill is second. Eddie Irvine in the second Ferrari. Let's look back and see where we see him. No, it's Häkkinen. Häkkinen is up into third place. We missed that, but Häkkinen is up into third place ahead of Irvine, and Villeneuve has passed the Ferrari too, so presumably Eddie Irvine has got a problem.
Well, I think he may have made a mistake, because that's allowed Häkkinen through, we believe, and then allowed Villeneuve to take a run at him. So bad news there for Eddie, and bad news for Michael Schumacher too. And yes, Irvine, they're getting ready for him. He's coming in the pit lane, so maybe he's had to come in together with somebody. Here he is now. He's at his pits right now.
There he is, into the pits, and there's new wheels and tyres going on. That will happen automatically. Fuel goes in as well, so they've topped up now. That's going to change the strategy, whatever it was. I can't imagine why he stopped, can you?
Well, unless it was a puncture. His tyres looked okay when the brief shot I saw of them, so maybe he had a slow puncture.
Just think of Damon Hill now, because all through the season, in a car which sadly wasn't up to his talent, he's been sweating and he's been very, very subdued. He's carried it with great dignity. That's Gianni Morbidelli in the pits already in the Sauber, well down the field. But now Damon's got a car that's been worked on so hard by John Barnard and everybody else at Lee Field, the Arrows headquarters, and the results are there to see.
Well, Irvine was a bottleneck because Häkkinen and Villeneuve are homing in on these two now very, very quickly. 1.6 seconds on the last lap. There you see Häkkinen coming into shot. Damon's about to have his mirrors full too. Michael Schumacher's struggling in that car. It's not handling well for him, and he's taking a lot of work and a lot of energy out of those tyres. He's going to be struggling with that car nearer the pit stop time.
Go, go, go! Mika Häkkinen closing. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Damon Hill. The order is Ferrari, Arrows, McLaren, Williams and Villeneuve. Frentzen in the second, Williams is fifth. David Coulthard in the second, McLaren is sixth. Johnny Herbert is seventh. Alesi is in eighth position. There are the first four. And Damon Hill is giving Michael Schumacher the race of his life. He's not giving him 1 second's relaxation.
Well, I'm not sure where he's going to be able to overtake him. He's not got enough speed down the pit straight, but he's going to have to muscle his way past there. Otherwise, he's going to be under enormous pressure himself, as you can see.
It's a great race. Hill chasing Schumacher. Villeneuve is up to fourth at Hungary.
Excuse me, would you like to make a long-distance call?
And I'm watching the game here.
Go ahead.
Is this some kind of a joke? Hi, Dad. It's me, Bob. Don't be afraid of the ball. I'm watching Maddie play. Well, oh, that's it. A double. Say hi to your grandpa when you slide. The kid is a natural. He just needs a little bit of tinkering. Like me, a natural. Lead. Take a lead. I'm not smothering him. No, because you always had me lead too far. What? Oh, he's doing it. He just stole third.
There's always something to say long distance. What are you waiting for?
Did you hear that? You'll make more if you pitch.
Mopar genuine parts. We test them here so that you can go anywhere. Mopar parts available from your Chrysler Canada dealer.
Tougher on motor oil than Formula One drivers. The extreme stress and searing heat generated by their hard driving can break down an oil in no time. That's why the Williams-Renault F1 team uses Castrol, the only leading 10W30 that provides maximum protection against both viscosity and thermal breakdown. Because some people have more important things to worry about. Castrol GTX. Drive hard.
Now available Castrol Syntec Blend for added synthetic protection.
Welcome back to our coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And while we were away, Schumacher leading, Damon Hill on his tail. And as they came across the start-finish line, using the drag, Damon Hill and his Arrows will force him over and get by to take over first place, followed by Mika Häkkinen and Jacques Villeneuve. There is your new race leader. As Schumacher is dropping back, Damon Hill.
Right over the white line, almost on the grass, but he kept his head, kept his foot down. Damon Hill leads a Grand Prix. Back to Murray.
Lap 11, Damon leads again in Hungary, and what is more, he has done something that the others may find very, very difficult indeed, because Michael Schumacher is undoubtedly holding everybody up, and he's going to be coming in, we do believe, but Damon Hill has got past him, and Häkkinen in third position cannot, as you can see. Villeneuve is fourth, Frentzen is fifth, Coulthard is sixth, Johnny Herbert is coming right up with them in seventh place.
Bad news news for Damon that Michael Schumacher's coming in, because all weekend Damon has been very, very fast in the last section of the lap, and that got him underneath the rear wing. There's a smoking Mercedes-Benz engine in Häkkinen's car. Damon got underneath his rear wing, got a super tow, and then an incredibly brave manoeuvre. And remember when he last tried that on Michael Schumacher, he turned into him in Adelaide and he lost the World Championship. But he pulled it off this time, and now he's just racing away from them. But bad news for him if Schumacher comes in the pits. But hang on, they're taking Schumacher's tyres away back into the garage. That's great news for Damon.
Now, if I had said to you who is going to be leading the Hungarian Grand Prix on lap 12, would you have said Damon Hill? You would have been a very brave man if you had.
But look, he's taking 3 seconds a lap out of the chasing pack now, just because Schumacher's in the way. So the longer it takes them to pass Schumacher, the better. But Damon's 3 seconds a lap faster at the moment.
And it could well be that he's going to be making 1 stop less. But we've got news from James Allen in the pits.
Yeah, just to clear up this Ferrari tyre situation, Murray, Eddie Irvine did not have a slow puncture. It was just a badly balanced set of tyres that weren't working on his car. Now that's the problem also they thought that Schumacher had. A second ago the mechanics came out and they were all set, tyre covers were off, fuel hoses ready for Michael Schumacher, who I understand is on a 3-stop strategy, by the way.
Häkkinen is in trouble. We've seen puffs of smoke from the McLaren's Mercedes engine. There he is. The man who was in 3rd position is now touring back to the start, and Jacques Villeneuve moves up into 3rd position as Mika Häkkinen retires the McLaren Mercedes, and Damon Hill leads by 5 seconds. 5 incredible seconds. I can hardly believe my eyes as I watch this happening before them.
Well, he looks somewhat calmer than you, Murray, I have to say, and he's doing a super job out there. But I understand your excitement, because this is looking good, and we know his tyres have a good durability, and we think he's only 2 stopping.
Yeah, and Damon is at home. He's leading a race. He knows how to do it. He's been there before. He's won 21 times. Behind him, Schumacher's won more races, but look where he is now. Behind him, Jacques Villeneuve has won races, but not as many as Damon. He hasn't got the experience. And Damon Hill is not only leading, but he's pulling away. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 19.6.
Look, here's Villeneuve coming up the inside of Schumacher, the same the move that Damon Hill put on him. He's so slow out of the last corner. He's a sitting duck at the end of the straight, and now Villeneuve will run and hide from that little gaggle. He's next in line to have a go at Michael Schumacher.
Well, at 14, yes, Heinz-Frau Frentzen actually had a look at the inside of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, but Schumacher's not going to give way, of course. He knows that if he stays on the racing line, it's terribly difficult to get past. Jacques Villeneuve did a bumper job in getting past him there. Frentzen's going to have another go. Here is Schumacher. We're on lap 14. Damon Hill, meantime, is nearly 9 seconds ahead now.
I can't remember the last time that Michael Schumacher was a moving chicane, that's for sure.
You're absolutely right, Martin. And behind Jacques Villeneuve is David Coulthard in the sole McLaren. And of course, Jacques Villeneuve has done exactly what he wanted to do. He's got ahead of the man who is ahead of him, the only man who's ahead of him in the World Championship. Jacques Villeneuve is on a potential 4 points at the present moment, and Frentzen is right up behind the Ferrari. The gap is extending. Frentzen, into the pits comes Michael Schumacher. James Allen is on his way to you right now.
Just caught a very quick word with Heiner Buchinger, who's Michael Schumacher's right-hand man. I said, Heiner, what is the problem? Is it that the tyres are just badly balanced as they were with Eddie Irvine? He said, that's exactly right. They're just no good. He can't get any grip, as you can see. That's the problem. The strategy of Ferrari has gone all to pot. It was that Irvine would do 2 stops and Schumacher would do 3, and I'm pretty convinced that Hill's only going to do 2 stops. Very interesting situation here.
Schumacher has stopped. Eddie Irvine has stopped. Both the Ferraris, therefore, have been in and out, and Michael Schumacher rejoins the race.
I don't think they can be talking about balance as you know it on your road car, where you get a shimmy coming through the steering wheel. That's not enough to slow a racing driver down. It's a nuisance on a racing car, on a Formula 1 car, because the steering and everything else is so rigidly made. But I think they must mean the balance of grip front to rear. The car was sliding around more than he wanted. I can't believe it's the sheer balance of the wheel due to weight.
And it really is surprising that you can come in on a set of tyres which you think are awful, put another set on, and the car is absolutely transformed. But There's transformation for you. Damon Hill coming through to complete his 15th lap out of 77. Now the gap between was 8.6 seconds. We'll see now whether Jacques Villeneuve, who you see coming down the straight towards us, has closed the gap at all. Yes, he has. It's down to 7.9 seconds. And Frentzen is up into third position. In fourth position, it's Coulthard behind him. In the red striped helmet is Johnny Herbert, fifth in the Sauber. He's in the points. And Michael Schumacher is out of the points now because Alesi is in sixth position in the Benetton. Trulli is up to seventh in the Prost, and Rubens Barrichello is now in eighth position in the leading Stewart.
Well, the three stoppers are going to have to show their hand in the next 3 or 4 laps, I would suggest. So we're certainly going to see which ones of the current runners, the front runners, have decided on stopping 3 times. That means using 4 sets of tyres during the race.
Yep.
Damon Hill won his first ever Grand Prix in 1993 in Hungary, and on lap 7 he got by the pole sitter Michael Schumacher to take the lead. Jacques Villeneuve is now up to second place. Our coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix continues when we come back.
I'm getting some really strange readings in here.
A missing crew.
This place is a tomb.
DJ, where are you?
And infinite evil.
There must be beyond the boundaries of our universe. Who knows what it brought back with it?
Vacate! I want off this ship.
Can't leave. She won't let you.
Event Horizon. Starts Friday, August 15th everywhere.
This is McDonald's new McFlurry.
What?
McFlurry.
Like a snowstorm?
No, like a flavor storm.
Cool.
Freezing.
Introducing McDonald's McFlurry, our coolest new soft serve treat, swirled into one of 4 taste sensations.
Oreo. Fudgio. Smarties.
Wow.
And Coffee Crisp. Man, that's cold.
My McDonald's.
Leanne McCarthy knows a thing or two about dependability.
I bought it fresh out of school, and I've done 130,000 kilometers in this thing with no major repairs. Been there, done that, got the bumper sticker. I love my Suzuki, come rain or shine. See the world in a Suzuki.
When Leanne wanted Japanese quality at a great price, she turned to one of the world's largest vehicle makers, Suzuki. All you have to do
is drive one.
Pick up a 97 Sidekick starting at just $16,095.
After a wonderful opening ceremonies yesterday, the Canada Summer Games ready to begin in Brandon, Manitoba. And our coverage continues today at 5 p.m. Eastern and then again at 10. It's down to 5.4 seconds as Jacques Villeneuve takes up the chase, trying to run down his former teammate. Damon Hill's your leader in Hungary.
Apologies as you look at the arrows, and Frentzen is now the first man on the track in under 1 minute 19 seconds in this race. He's now 3.2 seconds behind Villeneuve. Now, it's all going to depend on tyre changing and strategy as you watch Pedro Diniz in the arrows.
Well, interestingly, Pedro Diniz should be watching his mirrors any moment now because the race leader, his teammate Damon Hill, is cruising up behind him. So hopefully he will be very, very helpful. And there isn't a situation. Often there's supposed to be a situation where they hold other players up in the race, but I've not really ever seen good evidence of that.
Come on, Martin. We all know that messages are given from time to time that if the car was a bit wider than it has been in the past, no one would think badly of it.
Well, I have known a few drivers to be conveniently colourblind from time to time. Yes, I will concede that.
Right, we're on lap 19 of the 77-lap Hungarian Grand Prix with Damon Hill leading Jacques Villeneuve now by just over 4 seconds. Lap 19 out of 77 situation is getting even more interesting than it was before, because that's Pedro Diniz, and he's in 19th position. He's been caught by the race leader and his teammate Damon Hill. Is Diniz going to let Hill through? And if he does, is he going to make it difficult for the others to pass him? And Damon Hill, meantime, is about to lap his teammate, and that's Jos Verstappen in front in the Tour. Now, this would be a good point for Damon Hill to get past, and he does it. Now, what is Diniz going to do? Does he realise that A, Damon Hill is leading the race, and that B, Jacques Villeneuve is catching him? He'll soon see the Williams in his mirrors. Villeneuve has got another of the Tyrrells. That'll be Mika Salo. I know it's Verstappen. He's got to get past him, then he's got to get past Salo. And meantime, Damon Hill has again got a clear track in front of him.
Yes, rest assured, Pedro Diniz would just have heard in his earplugs the dulcet tones of the Scot, Mr. Walkinshaw, who's as wide as he is high, saying, "My man's coming through, make sure you don't hold him up." So Diniz would have been well aware of the situation there from the pits.
Yes, and one has to wonder also whether Tom Walkinshaw would also have said, and of course, Pedro, behind Damon is Jacques Villeneuve, who's in second place, so make sure you let him through as well.
Come on, Murray, you don't really believe that sort of thing goes on around here, do you?
No,
This is a gentleman's sport.
Not for a single moment. Night 20 this is, and Damon Hill now you can see Villeneuve closing up on Diniz. Very seriously, the gap is down to 3 seconds. It's not going to be very long before Damon Hill has got Jacques Villeneuve underneath his rear wing. And the question then will be, will Villeneuve on the softer Goodyear tyres have to stop more than Damon Hill on the harder Bridgestone tyres? Now there is Diniz, he's been lapped. There's Villeneuve, who is second. Then there was one of the Tyrrells, that of Mika Salo. They're round turn 2 into turn 3. That's Damon Hill leading. Where on lap 21 now, there's a long, long way to go. As I said earlier on, this race goes on for an hour and 3/4, and it's very, very hot indeed, demanding and grueling for the cars and the drivers. We're with Villeneuve.
Let me tell you a problem that Damon is going to have as we ride on board with Villeneuve there. The pits are breaking up, we've moved away. When you're being lapped, I've been in fast cars and I've been in slow cars, and when you're being lapped by a bright red Ferrari or something that's obviously a Williams or the McLaren of Senna, you move out of the way extra fast. When something like the Arrows, that's not been in the lead of a race much this year, comes up behind you, you're going to work out for a little while, is it somebody I'm racing with, is it Diniz or is it Hill? The blue flags should be giving the game away, but you'll still be taking 2 or 3 corners to be sure you're not letting past a competitor, and that's what's going to happen with this Tyrrell guy. Hopefully he'll realise very quickly that it's Damon Hill that's coming up behind him.
It's Jos Verstappen, actually, the Dutchman. He's in 17th place. He's the next man to be lapped by Damon, who's already lapped Diniz and Salo. Now, and Damon Hill goes through lap 22, race order. Hill leads. Villeneuve is now only 2.7 seconds behind him and gaining. Frentzen is 2 seconds behind Villeneuve and gaining. Coulthard is 4th. Herbert is 5th. Alesi is 6th. Trulli is 7th. Barrichello is in 8th position. Fisichella is in 9th place. Ralf Schumacher is in 10th position in the Jordan. He'll only be stopping a couple of times because he's got hard compound tyres on. Jan Magnussen is out of the race. Morbidelli is out of the race. Mika Häkkinen is out of the race. Of the 22 cars that started on lap 22, 19 are left, and the last one is Mika Salo. And we know that the Williams team, because I'm looking across at them as I talk to you, is getting ready for Jacques Villeneuve to come in, and I don't think there's any sign of Damon Hill being about to do so. Martin, I suspect that Damon Hill will be on a 2-stop strategy.
Well, I do know he's scheduled to come in subject to traffic and race conditions on lap 25. It's when he was initially expected to come in. If he comes up behind some back markers, they may pull him in earlier. But it looks to me like all of the front runners are going to be 2-stopping at this time. So Damon's got some clear space ahead of him. No reason to pull him in any earlier than normal. There's going to be some very nervous Arrows mechanics in the pits. They've not been in a position so far this year where their pit stop is super critical.
Well, now, you saw Frentzen just about to dive past Diniz. Villeneuve having already done so, and as a result of the traffic, Damon Hill has extended his lead again. He's 5 seconds ahead of Villeneuve now, because the Canadian driver lost over 3 seconds in traffic on that lap, and that's given the Damon a big opportunity. Now, looking across the track on the left is Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. He's down in 12th place behind Nakano in the Prost.
Jordan there having a look up the inside of the arrows. Yes, that's who's that? That's Fisichella. No, sorry, that's Ralf Schumacher passing a Lacey for position. Ralf Schumacher moving into the top 10. And Irvine, you can see, has caught that group back up after his very early pit stop. Truly there. No, that's Nakano, I'm sorry. Nakano in the middle for good measure.
Yeah, well, Schumacher... and off goes the Benetton, and Schumacher is going through and taking Nakano. Now, Michael Schumacher is doing what Villeneuve was doing. He's fairly streaking through the field, because he's obviously got a well-balanced motor car now. This is lap 23. He knows the Ferrari very well, naturally. Now, here's a replay. Let's see.
Well, that's Lacey running up on the curve and just simply running wide, and you get to a point of no return, and you simply can't get it back on without just bouncing along the grass. It looks like we've got a Minardi out of the race in the pit lane.
So, Michael Schumacher up behind Nakano now, the first 10 on lap 24. Hill is 5.7 seconds ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. Hardly believable in the view of the past races this year, but it is wonderfully true. Frentzen is third, Coulthard is fourth, Herbert is fifth. Trulli in the Prost is in sixth position. Rubens Barrichello is almost in the points again. He was in Monaco, where he finished second in the Stewart. Fisichella is in eighth position. Ralf Schumacher there, Nakano, and Michael Schumacher in 11th place. And Alesi, by going off, has dropped down to 12th position as we look at Damon Hill in the Arrows Yamaha, leading in Hungary before the spellbound gaze of well over 100,000 people. Now, the tyre covers, I can tell you, are off Jacques Villeneuve's car. Now, a pit stop here takes over 35 seconds, and by that I mean from coming into the pit lane and stopping and taking on tyres and fuel and leaving it again and getting up to speed. So this is going to be an enormous advantage to Damon. If he's got anything left in reserve, in comes Villeneuve. James.
Looking at the tyres coming off Villeneuve's car, they don't look too bad at all. I was just looking at Irvine's and they're a real mess. Terrible blistering. Meanwhile, David Coulthard has also come in. There's a stuck right front wheel nut. That's lost him a little bit of time, 11 seconds. I think it's 2-3 seconds. Well, I'll let Martin judge that by the amount of fuel that went in. But certainly that stuck front right one wheel nut certainly held him up, and we expect Damon any moment now as well.
And there's Coulthard coming out of the pit lane behind Villeneuve. That's confirmation of the fact that they're on a two-stop strategy, and coming up behind them is Trulli. That was Jarno Trulli. He's in sixth position. Then there was Barrichello. It's all closing up now, and it's going to get more and more exciting and more confusing.
Okay, Damon is in this lap. It's his 25th lap, so the team are very much on schedule. Damon Hill this time into the pits for a fresh set of tyres and a little drink for the engine.
And if they can get him out in less than 11 seconds from stopping at the pit until out again, he will be quicker than Villeneuve was. And Louise, here he comes.
Damon Hill makes his way down the pit lane. This is an incredibly tense moment for the Arrows mechanics. They've had some problems with the pit stops in the past. Hill is coming very, very slowly down the pit lane. Anxious faces looking up, waiting for him to arrive. Here he is. He's in the pits. As I said, they've had some problems with this in the past. It's an area the whole team have been working on very, very hard. They were up late into the night last night making some modifications to the axles. Looking good, and he's away again.
And that was a terrific stop. 9 seconds for Damon Hill was 2 seconds faster than Jacques Villeneuve. Now, in the meantime, of course, the lead has changed. Damon Hill has dropped down the field. And in the meantime, Hans-Harald Frentzen has seen his opportunity. He's now fastest man on the track. 1 minute 18.37. Damon Hill is back in, and Ralf Schumacher back in the race, and Ralf Schumacher comes in from 11th place.
Well, significantly, as we watch Schumacher's pit stop taking place, he's not a player in this race today at the moment, but significantly, I think I saw Damon come out of the pits in front of Johnny Herbert. That's going to put him significantly just down to second place, despite having already made his stop. So that's good too. He's obviously still well ahead of Villeneuve. Frentzen leads the race, but he's yet to stop.
So let's recap. Damon Hill has stopped. Jacques Villeneuve has stopped. David Coulthard has stopped. And they are all top 6 runners. There is Jean Alesi leaving the pits as Frentzen goes through, completing the lap. And the Benetton joins. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen now on lap 27. The man that we are looking at in the Williams-Renault, the man who won the San Marino Grand Prix, is leading in Hungary, and the man he's leading is Damon Hill.
Johnny Herbert was running in third. He's into the pits. They're starting to sort themselves out. The Hungarian Grand Prix on TSA.
Excuse me, sir, on the beach. Would you like to make a long-distance phone call?
Well, I'm a golf guy. I need your advice. Yeah, I can see the pin this time. Yeah, I know I'm always in the trap. Well, no, because if the knees are bent, it's out. Feet are lined up. Well, I got a phone tucked in under my chin. I'm not really, limber. I'm more of a, limbo. Very loose, very fast, very nimble.
There's always something to say long distance. What are you waiting for?
Very nice. Right on the fairway. You're a great coach.
Ted Garden knows a thing or two about reliability.
We've got to be able to go places other 4x4s can't. I've built up a fleet of these. When it comes to the job site, it comes to work, not to be worked on. I think they're bulletproof.
When Ted needed the kind of Japanese quality he could trust for years to come, he turned to one of the world's largest vehicle makers, Suzuki. All you have to do
is drive one.
Check out the 97 Sidekick starting at just $16,095.
Hey, bubblegum blowers. It's extra classic bubblegum. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's chewing it. It's the bubblegum flavor that never quits. Flavor for you, Daddy-O. Flavor for the friends you know. Whether it's all-night homework bubbles or waiting at the bus stop bubbles. It's the classic bubblegum flavor that never quits. Hanging at the dance hall or waiting at the shopping mall. Try extra classic bubblegum. Why? Because it's the classic bubblegum flavor that never quits.
As we watch one of the Prost cars, Shinji Nakano in pit lane. Frentzen is your leader in the Williams, but remember, Heinz-Harald has yet to stop. Both Hill and Villeneuve have as we go back to Hungary.
So Damon in stopping and having a quicker stop than Villeneuve, and now running actually marginally slower, but nevertheless has extended his lead over the man who is effectively second, because taking into account that Frentzen is going to have to come in, Hill is effectively leading the race. But Frentzen now is on his 29th lap, and I'm beginning to wonder, and a great flash of flame from the back of was that just overrun, or was it a problem, do you think?
Didn't see it happen, Murray. I have to confess, I was looking at something out of the window here in the pit lane.
Great spout of flame shot out of the back of Frentzen's car, and you don't expect... Oh, and he's gone! He's gone! Surely! Another puff of smoke from Frentzen's Williams Renault. First of all, we saw flame, then we saw smoke. Now, that's going to be something surely more than dodgy mixture or oil dropping on a hot part of the engine, but there he goes again.
Well, that's oil. He's burning oil on lifting off the throttle there, and you get a crankcase pressure. The oil's going past the rings. This is my guess. Somebody's saying they saw something fly off the car down the pit straight, but that's an oil being burnt through the exhaust system. And there's the offending piece. Look, that somebody correctly reported as having come off the car. You can see it laying on the floor, and I'd be surprised if Frentzen goes too much further.
In he comes. He's the only man in the field now who has not stopped, and now he's doing so very late. This is lap 29. I'm watching for Damon Hill to go through in the lead. So Frentzen draws to a standstill. Let's see if they do anything to the car. I'm watching the car with one eye, watching the track with the other to see Damon Hill go through. And the seconds are ticking past all the time. And it looks like a pretty leisurely pit stop to me. It looks to me as though Heinz-Harald Frentzen is about to retire from the Hungarian Grand Prix. Yet another retirement. That'll make 5. They switch the engine off. Martin.
Well, that's just oil coming through the exhaust pipes. The very dramatic, but not actually in itself a big problem. But clearly there's something wrong with the oil system of the car in some way. We'll no doubt the ITV pit crew will find out exactly what the problem is. He doesn't look too impressed, does he?
Well, I wonder when things can start to go right for poor Heinz Harald. He's won a race, he's had a second place, he's had a fourth, but everything has gone rotten for him. Well, now that's his 5th retirement from an 11 races, and Damon serenely sails on, and he's now in the lead again, of course, having stopped as they wheel the Williams away. Yet another race when both the Williams are going to fail. No, one of the Williams at least is going to fail to finish, and there have been others where both of them have failed to finish.
There goes the part now. Look, you can see it going off to the left, just lost in the heat haze there. So something flying off of that Williams Renault.
So on lap 30, what is the gap between Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve, and is the Canadian catching the Arrows Yamaha? Well, Damon goes through now and completes his 30th lap in this 77-lap race, and the gap was 10 seconds, just 10.1 seconds to be exact. There's the whole length of the start and finish straight between him and Jacques Villeneuve, who's going to come through next as Damon goes into turn 2, and the gap now is 12.3 seconds. Damon has increased his lead in that lap by 3 seconds to 12. Superb. Brilliant.
Yes, just thinking back again on the Frentzen thing, there's not a lot of smoke to go with that flame, so maybe it's fuel rather than oil that's being burned. But Damon Hill looking extremely comfortable, putting in good lap times. He's got quite a little bit of traffic ahead of him here, and the race is definitely yo-yoing around. The gap to the leader is yo-yoing around, but the traffic is playing a big part in that. But whenever he has clear air, he just seems to be playing fast enough to lead the race easily.
Yeah, he's catching Tasso Marquez now in the Minardi with the yellow wing in front of him. So and out goes the steward of Rubens Barrichello. That's yet another retirement, and on lap 31 in this incredible race, and it's a totally unpredictable situation. Damon Hill is completing his 31st lap now, and he's 12 seconds ahead of Villeneuve second. He's 14 seconds ahead of Coulthard third. He's 19 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, who has now come up into 4th place and is lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than Damon Hill. Michael Schumacher is on a roll.
What a wonderful story. Damon Hill is leading by 13 seconds. More disappointment, though, for Heinz Harald Frentzen. One of the Williams is out.
The new Arctic Cat ATVs were designed from the ground up. Soggy. Muddy. Dusty. Stump-filled ground, mind you. Arctic Cat ATVs.
Every 10 seconds or so, a stop sign goes up somewhere in North America. And every 30 seconds, a traffic light goes up. It's as hard on your car as it is on you. It's stop and go, stop and go, stop and go driving. Use Pennzoil, formulated for today's stop and go driving. Stop, go, Pennzoil.
A great day of racing continues with the PPG Kart World Championship today at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our preview show, it's Brian Herta on the pole. Greg Moore starts 3rd, Paul Tracy 15th, and Patrick Carpentier 23rd. And then tonight at 7:30 Eastern Time, NASCAR. They're on the road course at Watkins Glen. Todd Bodine is on the pole there as we go back to Hungary.
There's still half the race to go.
Lap 33 at the Hungaroring, coming up towards half distance. Hill leads Villeneuve on the left of your picture by 12 seconds.
Michael Schumacher in the pit lane for his second stop. Remember, he stopped very early on. It looks so slow, it's just 50 miles an hour the speed limit here. All of the drivers and mechanics wanted it slower than some circuits because it's so narrow and so crowded. Second stop for Michael. Here we go. Get the fuel off and away, 7 seconds. That's a very good stop.
Now, Michael had worked his way up to 4th position. Remember, he had a problem earlier on, dropped right back through the field, came in, that's his second pit stop. He's the first one of the leaders, and we now join David Coulthard, and the race order is Hill, who is 13 seconds ahead of the car that will win, Jacques Villeneuve, which is the car in front, and as you can see, Coulthard, who is under half a second behind Villeneuve, is catching the Williams Renault. Hill leads Villeneuve second, Coulthard is third. But Johnny Herbert has come up into 5th position, and I'm going to stop there because I need to see Michael Schumacher to work out where he is in the race at the moment. And in the meantime, James Allen is we've got news from James, I'm sorry, about Frentzen.
That's right, Murray. I'm not speaking to you at the moment, but I have spoken to the engineers now. There were 2 things wrong with that Williams. There was oil coming out of the back. You could see that. That was one problem. But the reason for retirement was actually that the fuel engagement nozzle on the car had moved so that the Williams mechanics could not get the fuel nozzle on. Therefore, they could not refuel the car, and that's why he retired. Incidentally, just studied the tyres that came off Schumacher's car. A lot less blistering on that set. It's a really great fight back by Michael Schumacher after that first set of tyres just blistered so badly.
Here. And now Williams, from 22 starts this year, have had 10 retirements. 5 each for Villeneuve and Frentzen. And we really don't expect that from the Grove team, who've dominated Formula One for so long, have got so used to seeing both of them start at the front of the grid and finish first and second. But it's different this year. And David Coulthard now, the second of these 2 cars, the McLaren Mercedes, on his 35th lap. You can see the gap between himself and Villeneuve. And meantime, Damon Hill is still well in front. When I say well in front, I mean 12 seconds in front with nearly half the race completed. 1 stop gone. He's going to stop once more. So I suspect are all the others. Michael Schumacher has been in twice. And Johnny Herbert is now in 4th position. Michael Schumacher, even after his pit stop, is still in the top 6. He's in 5th position, ahead of his teammate Eddie Irvine. Now coming towards us, behind Berger, who is 15th. There is Villeneuve second, Coulthard third, and if you could look 11 seconds backwards down the track, if you see what I mean, you would have seen Johnny Herbert in the Sauber in 4th place.
David Coulthard's car looking very, very good. Looks very easy for him from the in-car stuff that we keep seeing here. He's not having to fight the car at all. Looks very easy for him. He's in good shape. He was the fastest car on the track on the last lap, and looking good there. As Eddie Irvine, again, you saw the blue smoke as he locked up to get the car down to 50 miles an hour. And here he is moving in. He looks out of the side of the car. You can't see the marks you have to stop on. Looking at the front of the car, you have to look down to the side because the view is blocked by the chassis and your own dashboard. So out in 7 seconds, identical to Michael Schumacher. Another good Ferrari effort.
Yeah, and as Eddie Irvine leaves the pit lane, we can join Louise Goodman with Mika Häkkinen.
Mika, an early stop for you. What was the problem with the car?
Yeah, it was definitely early start. I lost hydraulic pressure from the car, so I didn't have a gearbox anymore. So only what I'm going to do is to switch off the engine, drive side of the track, and come back and to speak with the engineers and try to understand how we can fix these kind of things, not to happen again in the next race.
It was a busy start for you. You were looking good for a while.
Oh, it was looking good. It was exciting. I was a bit blocked by Villeneuve. I probably could overtake him inside, but it was too risky because I knew he was going to close the door anyway. So I decided to go outside. And obviously Irvine got a good start because I was stuck behind the Villeneuve. But very exciting first corner. I liked it. Exciting.
Well, poor old Mika Häkkinen, that's his fourth retirement this year. Coulthard's dropped out 4 times as well. We're watching him now in third position. And I was talking about Williams not finishing cars this year. It's been the same with McLaren, sadly. But the Williams and the McLaren, the sole one of each make left in the race, are battling, and we're with David Coulthard looking ahead at Jacques Villeneuve as Damon Hill maintains that 12-second gap. This is lap 37. And he's 12 seconds ahead. Villeneuve in front of us now with David Coulthard visually getting closer. Johnny Herbert is 13 seconds behind us now in 4th position. So Damon Hill is leading. Johnny Herbert is 4th. Eddie Irvine is in 10th position in the Ferrari after his stop.
And that was Denit's 4th position there. That wasn't Damon Hill you saw there in the arrows. Denit's passing Verstappen for 12th place. Probably had a wake-up call having Damon whistle past him like that in the same car leading the race. But 3 Brits in the top 4. And I think if Coulthard could just get around Villeneuve somehow, he would be chasing after Damon. He looks like he's got a very good car.
Good news for Brian Hart, incidentally, who is the man whose engine is powering Ukko Katayama's Minardi. I know Brian isn't here because he's had a tooth operation problem and he'll be watching this race. Well, your man Ukko, Brian, is in 14th position. Tasso Marquez in the other one is in 17th place. We do hear rumours that Brian's working on a new engine, but whether it's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah, there are lots of rumours about that, but here we are on board with David Coulthard now, the little flick-flack at 11, coming in over the curb, mind the bollard, and you launch down, and you can't believe how late you brake in there, and pull the teardrops out of the corner of your eye. There's a lot of downforce on the cars, and you brake impossibly late, and the car somehow slows down. But you can see Coulthard is being held up by Villeneuve. He needs to get slightly more aggressive with him and somehow get past him like Damon Hill did earlier in the race.
Berger passes Verstappen. Now both of those cars are almost a lap behind Villeneuve, who's catching them. Now Jos Verstappen will be concentrating on his battle with Berger.
That's right, a good opportunity here for David. He should try to make something out of this. He wants to stay as close as possible, because while Jacques will be the first one to do now, the Tyrrell's lifted off. That's a pity for David. The Tyrrell's just lifted off, and that opportunity's gone, because often you have to seize a half a chance on this circuit, and backmarkers are one of the best opportunities.
Well, a good bit of driving by Verstappen, because he sacrificed time in his battle with Katayama. But my goodness, David Coulthard that we're with is really going for it. The man from Twynham in Scotland, the winner of the Australian Grand Prix. He's equal 8th in the World Championship with his teammate Mika Häkkinen, who's retired, we know that. And of course, it's believed that there's a battle between the two of them to retain their place in the McLaren team next year.
Well, we're watching David Coulthard, but fellow Brit Damon Hill now 15 seconds in the lead and comfortably the fastest man on the track on the last lap.
Yes, 1 minute 20.5 compared with all the others well up into the 121s. They've got traffic problems. Frentzen has made the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:18.3, which is not an all-time, well, just a minute, it's jolly near an all-time. It's 7/100ths of a second outside the all-time 3.5 litre Williams-Renault lap record, 1992, Nigel Mansell. And Frentzen won't be going any faster now. He's out of the race, and coming towards us is Michael Schumacher. Behind him is Fisichella. Schumacher is 5th. Fisichella Schumacher is 5th, and Fisichella is 6th.
Yes, Fisichella has been minding his own business, driving a very, very good race, often down into the 19s, and way ahead of teammate Ralf Schumacher. Nakano also, he's ahead of Trulli in the Prost, and he's just running one place behind Fisichella. Two guys there, 6th and 7th, doing a good job, but Fisichella looks like he's about to be all over the back of Michael.
Interesting point, Martin. Fisichella, we know, is on hard compound Goodyears. The others are on softs. He may well be making one pit stop less. He's in 6th position in the points now. That could well move him up.
That's right. Michael looks like he's beginning to struggle again on this, what is his third set of tyres. So Fizzy on the harder tyres, and Michael's got his mirrors full of very bright yellow Jordan.
And over the line goes Villeneuve to complete his 40th lap. He's on lap 41. Behind him is David Coulthard. They're cutting their way through midfield then at the present moment. And it's Gerhard Berger limping along in 14th place. His teammate Jean Malete is 11th. Here are the top 10 as you watch the battle between Villeneuve and Coulthard for second place. Hill is... I just can't get over this. He's now 18 seconds ahead of this battle. He's lapping consistently, a second a lap faster than Villeneuve in the Williams Renault and then Coulthard in the McLaren Mercedes. Johnny Herbert is fourth in the Sauber, 14 seconds behind the battle for second place. And we're watching now the battle between Michael Schumacher for fifth position with Giancarlo Fisichella behind him. Seventh is Nakano, the Japanese driver in the Prost. Eighth is Ralf Schumacher. Ninth is Jarno Trulli. 10th is Eddie Irvine for us.
Jacques Villeneuve might not be closing on Damon Hill, but he has Michael Schumacher behind him. That's all important when it comes to the points battle in Formula One.
Genuine parts. If we've got what it takes to do it here, just imagine what it'll give you there. Mopar parts, available from your Chrysler Canada dealer.
Racing team has only one objective: to win. And the only motor oil they use to win is Motomaster synthetic oil from Canadian Tire. After the most rigorous testing, the Players Racing Team engineers chose Motomaster synthetic motor oil because you need a well-oiled machine to be a winner. Motomaster synthetic oil, the ultimate in protection, available at Canadian Tire.
Watch the Players Racing Team race in Vancouver.
We've passed the midway point of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and Giancarlo Fisichella is all over the back, trying now the outside move, now inside on Michael Schumacher as they battle for fifth.
Stay with him. He's running a little